Hey everybody, you're listening to the Smoked Meat Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Pittman. Smoked Meat is brought to you by Joe's Underground in the corner of 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, in the bottom of the Lamar Building. Joe's is such a wonderful place. The first time you go in there, you feel like your family. Everybody is just so great in there. They just make you feel at home from the first time to every time you're in there. So go on in, make some new friends, have some drinks with some old ones. Just go in and have a good time. Tell Jeremy and the gang I said hey. And remember, I goes to Joe's and so should you. Joe's Underground at the corner of 8th and Broad in Augusta, Georgia, in the bottom of the Lamar Building. All right, smoked meat people, this is one you've been waiting for. And it's one I've been waiting to put out. I'm excited about it. A little background. From September of 1996 to March of 1997, the rap world lost two of its greats. Those are when Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls were both murdered within 6 months of each other. Now, LAPD investigated, and there were a lot of allegations about crooked cops and about just all kind of different theories, and it never really went anywhere, didn't have any closure. And in 2006, LAPD reopened the case with a task force, a federal task force, to solve these murders. And my guest today is the man who led that task force, Detective Greg Kading of the LAPD. Greg talks a little bit about the cases today. Just kind of lets you know they were solved. They're just not prosecutable. And gives some pretty good details. You may know Greg from the Netflix miniseries of Unsolved, and also his documentary and book called Murder Rap, which is on Amazon Prime right now. We had a good time today. We talked about Biggie and Tupac. We talked a little bit about vodka. We talked a little bit about everything. So everybody just kick back, relax, and enjoy, and listen to the Smoked Meat Podcast. Hey, so how are you doing today, Greg?
I am good. Absolutely great. I went golfing this morning, and it was about 115 degrees at the golf course. So, I don't know how wise it is to be out there, but it's my favorite thing in the world to do. So I take the risk, and I think the temperature reflected my score.
Oh man, what's your handicap?
Like I said, my temperature reflected my score. I don't have a handicap. I go out there, drink some beers, and smack the ball around with my buddies. So I need to start taking it more seriously because I've been playing long enough to where I ought to be pulling bogeys out instead of triple bogeys.
Oh man, don't take it serious. Then it won't be fun anymore. I always tell everybody my handicap is my game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I haven't played golf in forever, man. I got a jacked up shoulder, but my long game, man, I can drive farther with my 5-wood than most people can with their oversized drivers.
You got a big hit, huh?
Oh yeah, I can put it out there, but you'll catch up to me really quick when it comes time to get on the green.
Mm-hmm.
Because man, I couldn't putt down a damn piece of PVC pipe and get it in the hole. Oh yeah,
such a mental game. It's just so challenging that. Like I said, there's nothing else I enjoy more. I love being out there with my buddies, drinking some beers, and every once in a while you get that shot that makes it all worthwhile.
Oh yeah, I love the sound of a good drive. Everybody looks up and says, "Now that's a golf shot."
Correct.
Yeah, and there's nothing like that sound.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I do it, it's usually an accident, but I always stand there like I meant to. Because I play ninja golf. I like to say I hit it in the woods and sneak up on the hole. Oh, yeah.
Today, we were just sacrificing balls because even if they were 10 or 15 feet off, into the brush, there's rattlesnake signs everywhere. So everyone's warning you it's not worth that $2.50 ball to go out there and get struck by a snake.
Yeah, that's when you just keep half your range balls.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Oh yeah, and hey, if you do get a rattlesnake, if you can go on ahead and kill it, bring it to Georgia. I will cook it.
Ah, interesting.
Oh yeah.
Rattlesnake stew, huh?
Oh no, man, you fry up rattlesnake.
Is that right?
Yep. I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna avoid that. I don't think I'm gonna be eating any snake or any other creatures that crawl along the ground.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste. The funny thing is, everybody says it tastes like chicken. It actually
Yeah,
does. But I like what
yeah,
Rodney Carrington said. He said, "Well, just bring me chicken."
exactly.
But yeah, but no, I know y'all's heat out there right now is it's ridiculous, and it's funny here in Georgia. I feel like we've gotten a break this summer. I haven't seen 100 degrees yet.
You guys just get the humidity though, huh?
Oh yeah, oh a little bit, man. You ought to wear a mask with all this shit on. Oh
I know it.
man, 300% humidity with a mask on, and I wear glasses. Yeah, I might as well be Velma from Scooby Doo.
Forget that, man. I know. It just doesn't even feel right. You're out there trying to breathe, and everything's restricted, and breathing in your own exhale, and this shit needs to end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm ready for it too. We just actually bought some new masks because we wear the N95s. My wife runs a nursing home, and she wears one all day. And we found one. I mean, these things were like $90 a piece, but it's the most comfortable mask I've ever worn.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's the ones that the COVID docs. They're the ones in the COVID units wear, the doctors.
Right?
And oh, I'm loving this thing. I'm loving it. The only thing better than this would be not having to wear the damn things anymore because I'm sick of them.
Right.
Yeah. But if people just behave and like do what they were taught in kindergarten, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and don't sneeze on everybody, I think we'd lick this thing.
Well, that's the whole thing. This whole, like, gloves and hand washing and all that stuff's kind of been, forgotten or put on the back burner. At first, it was masks and gloves and all of this, and then for whatever reason, the whole glove thing went right out the window.
Yeah.
You used to see them just on you come out of Home Depot or the grocery store and you see a bunch of discarded gloves on the ground. You don't even see that anymore, which, I'm trying to make the connection. Like, why were gloves ever important, or why aren't they now if they were? And if masks are important, why aren't gloves?
Yeah.
The whole thing is just so hard to really get any true intelligence on.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, man, I'm elbow deep in it and I don't have much. So, welcome to my world. Oh, man. But yeah.
I'll tell you, this pandemic, for me, did teach me one thing that I didn't realize, is that I really wasn't prepared for the whole idea of shutting down and quarantining, and I had no preparational perspective on that. So now I'll probably end up with a bunch of masks that I don't need, hopefully soon, and throw those into a shoebox for the next round.
Yeah, I know when this thing first started, I took my daughter down to where my wife works at because they were going to go to our home near Augusta and take my daughter's senior pictures. And I was just going to stay home because I'd worked all weekend or all week and I just didn't want to go down. So I took her down there where my wife didn't have to drive back up here. And on the way home, I stopped at a little grocery store right down the street from me. Not even a big chain, just a little mom and pop thing. And I said, I'm going to pick up something for supper. You could pack of hot dogs or something. And, man, but I'd walked in and, man, excuse me, it was ridiculous, like a zombie apocalypse. I mean, people were panic prepping. And I walked over, got my hot dogs, and I stayed in there for like an hour just watching people. And it's like, why? I went to the frozen foods, and this couple ran over there where I was at and almost slid their buggy into the cooler and snatched the door open. And lady on the phone said, how many of these pizza rolls are we going to need? They're almost out. Just panicking. I'm like, pizza rolls are the answer. Okay. Yeah. I almost went and found the thing that they had the most stock on, like something like a Bic pen refill or something, and just put about 10 of them in my buggy and walked around just to see if everybody would start snatching those up. And it was just so funny because people, aren't prepared. And I'm a prepper. I'm not like one of the crazy people on TV who, I don't have 18,000 guns and 9 million bullets. I can protect my family by any stretch, but I figure I can shoot one at a time, so we're good with that. But I prep for things like this thing and hurricanes and that kind of stuff. Here in Georgia we get a lot of that stuff, and you can do it without having to go nuts. So I'll give you some advice on that when you need it.
Well, I was talking to my kid, and he's approaching 30, so he's not really a kid, but I was talking to my son, and after he got out of the Marine Corps, he had a bunch of these MREs.
Yeah.
Not a bunch, but maybe a dozen of these MREs, and had them up in the attic. And I thought, these things are good. I had no idea they actually expire. I thought they had an indefinite shelf life. So we were talking about, once the quarantine and everything started months ago, it's like we should get a bunch of MREs. We went online. I couldn't believe how expensive they were.
Oh, they're ridiculous. I mean, 10 years ago they were $5 a piece. Now, no, you can't find them nowhere near that.
Mm-mm. I was really surprised. I was going to order like 100 of them. It's like, well, nope, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I remember the original MREs that had everything was freeze dried. Now those would last. But oh yeah, and you only had to eat one of those a week because man, they would plug you up like a damn cork. Holy crap! So, oh yeah.
Yeah, my kid was giving me advice on which ones are good versus which ones weren't. They lived on them for during their deployments, and there's definitely some that are better than others.
Oh yeah, and the gold in any MRE pack, the pack of jalapeno cheese. And if you can get a pack of jalapeno cheese, shit, you can trade that for a Humvee if you want to. It don't matter.
Yeah, I'll trade you this for your rifle, pack of cheese.
In a heartbeat.
That's great.
Oh man, yeah, because there's two kind of people. There are peanut butter and cracker people, and there are wheat snack bread and jalapeno cheese people. And all I'm going to say is one of them probably can't be trusted.
Well, yeah, I kind of wonder what the nutritional. I know those things are designed to give you all your calories and carbs that you need, but I actually wonder, like, really how healthy are they if you're eating them consistently? If you were just living off of MREs for a month.
Oh man, it would. I think I saw where somebody tried to do that a while back, just as an experiment, kind of like the Super Size Me thing Morgan Spurlock did, and I don't think it turned out really well. Now I tell you, the MRE that I want to try is a Scottish MRE. Because I looked on YouTube one night, and they have this channel where these people just open MREs, even old ones, and see what's in them and eat them and all this. But a Scottish one, I want to join the Scottish Army. I'm not going to lie. Because they opened it up, and it had two great big packs of basically giant Twix bars, a bowl of ramen noodles, an e-cig, a pint of whiskey, a can of Iron Brew, which is like a Coke or something to mix your whiskey with, and it did have its own little shot glass. But the MRE heater was actually a piece of fuel rod from a damn Trident missile.
That is a perfect package.
Yes, I so want one, and you cannot buy them anywhere. But
That's interesting. I was supposed to be in Scotland this year. I was going to go and do a little speaking engagement over there, and of course COVID interrupted all of my plans, and now if we do ever reschedule that and I can get over there, I'm going to have to make a point of getting my hands on one of those.
Oh yeah, I mean this I couldn't believe it when I was watching this thing, and I'm like, they really just opened a Scottish MRE with a freaking piece of nuclear material in it.
Yeah, a bottle of booze.
Yeah. So, I mean, you figure their army runs on sugar, carbs, caffeine, nicotine, and hate. That is awesome.
Now I know why William Wallace was such a badass.
Exactly. Yeah, that blue paint on his face wasn't paint, man. That was just radiation stuff. He was mutating a little bit. Oh yeah. Well, we'll go on ahead and we'll get to the meat of this thing that we had talked about some, and that I'm sure everybody's wanting to hear about. You were an LAPD detective forever, and you're retired now.
That's right.
And you led the task force for Biggie and Tupac. Well, for Biggie, but Tupac kind of got intertwined in there because you couldn't deal with one without the other one.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. We're on the trail to find out what happened with Biggie and try to examine all the conspiracy theories. And we stumble upon this guy named Keefy D, who was a Southside Crip gang member, and we wanted to talk to him about Biggie because we knew he was at the Peterson Auto Museum that night. And we get in there, and he knows where we're going with it, and essentially says, "Listen, I can't help you with that, but what I can tell you is about Las Vegas and Tupac." And that leads to his confession and the involvement with his involvement in that murder.
Mm-hmm. Man, yeah, I was telling you, I watched Unsolved, and the people that played everybody in there was just amazing. The casting was great, and I also watched the documentary of your book, Murder Rap, which was awesome too. I feel like I like to say I know this case well, but I know what's been put out about this case well, because I know, being around law enforcement my entire career, there's things you just can't put out there. And I'm not going to ask you all the questions that everybody has, because I'm sure, like I say, you get tired of that sometimes. You get to where you can just mash a button and play back a thing for the answers. But
well, I trip out when somebody will contact me, instant messenger or whatever, and be like, "Hey, Greg, I read your book. I appreciate it, and but I have a question. Who do you think killed Biggie? Or who do you think killed Tupac?" I'm like,
did you finish the book?
"Oh my god!" Honestly, I've had that question asked of me a dozen times. Like, I've got to respond. Oh boy.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I like when people won't read the books or won't take time to learn about what they're about to talk about.
It's true.
And it's funny, I've had 10,000 questions, and I'm bad about writing things down, and my memory is just horrible sometimes. But this morning on the way home, I thought of the question that I don't think that you have had, and it's concerning Russell Poole. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know. I'm sure the movie's accurate as far as him, and everything I've read about him or seen about him, he was basically a dog with a bone who was, almost psychotically fixed on this one theory. With LAPD being involved, and it's all dirty cops doing this. Mm-hmm. How do you think that he would have his investigation would have turned out had he not been, before he got assigned to it, had he not come across the Kevin Gaines investigation and made that connection with Suge? Do you think I think he could have turned out differently, but I'm not really sure.
Well, yeah. So the Kevin Gaines thing was a big, that was a big red herring. But I understand there was reason to pursue it, as far as, well, you've got this LAPD cop who's been involved in this road rage incident. He's dating Suge Knight's, estranged wife and driving her car. And, that's all is suspicious. So there was a need to pursue that line of inquiry, but to draw the conclusions based on a bunch of circumstantial events is where he kind of got blinded by his own theory. Mm-hmm. So he just lost his objectivity, and he had things going on in his personal life that were affecting it too. A drinking problem, and involved in an affair, and things were not going great at work. And the guys around him were like, "Hey, Russ, don't put all your eggs in this basket. We understand you got to pursue, but keep everything balanced."
Yeah,
and I think that's where he kind of fell out.
Yeah, And I hate that, and that's, I mean, for what they had to work with. I mean, because I've dealt with people on the street for years, and you know people aren't going to talk. Period. And most of the time, they're not going to say squat. And here they are. They don't even have the leads. Like you had said on another show I heard. Y'all were fortunate because y'all had 10 years worth of stuff that had already groundwork had already been laid, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden here this cat is with like the case is still smoking and nobody saying anything. So that would be rough to begin with, but then to have all that on top of it and then fall in love with that one theory and just kind of blow up from there. It's uh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it really it's something he carried with him and turned into a, once you're committed and invested so much, you have a tendency to dig your heels in, even when other information surfaces that disproves your position. And I think some people are just a little bit too stubborn to recognize that. And of course we had resources and time that he didn't have. He was not on it for a long time, less than a year.
Yeah.
And here we are, 10 years after the fact, with all the investigative material that a lot of people had done, not just Pool.
Mm-hmm.
And we had resources. We had the federal resources. We could spend, $100,000 getting up on a wiretap and travel all over the place and pay people, to work for us, informants, and we had a tremendous advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I tell you, I just like I say, reading everything I've read and watching everything I've watched. I mean, y'all did a hell of a job, and like I say, it everybody, puts because you were the lead on this thing. Everybody says Greg Kading solved it, and if you're like me, I know you'll tell everybody in a heartbeat it was a team effort because I mean everybody's a
Absolutely.
team.
Yeah, absolutely. I only get the credit because I was the first one to step out and disclose what we found.
Mm-hmm.
Had somebody else retired before me and wrote a book, then they would be the one getting the credit. So, um, yeah, it was definitely a team effort. I owe a dozen different people um, a debt of gratitude for helping us get to where we got.
Yeah, yeah, and how big was the task force? I know on Unsolved it was 5 or 6 people there. But how big was the actual? Was that the actual size of it, or
No, not even close.
yeah?
That was reduced to just a core group just for television purposes.
Mm-hmm.
On a working day, we would have sometimes 12 guys, and everybody was doing different areas of responsibility. My buddy Jim Black with the ATF, he was doing everything that was gun related, and then guys at the DEA that were doing things drug related, and guys from Compton that were doing things gang related, and everybody was doing something else. We had analysts, people
Mm-hmm.
that just sat there and you know put the information onto flow charts, and so it was a huge group.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like I say, and I've been in groups like that. Not investigating obviously, but when we've got things that we've got to do in EMS and on fire scenes and things like that. You get groups like that there's a bond that forms that I'm sure that you may not get with all of them these right now, but I'm sure, like say you call Jim Black your friend still. I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah,
still keep in touch with these folks, or
yeah.
at least some of them.
Most of them I do. They're either retired and we go boating together or golfing together or whatever. And then of course my my most solid guy is Darren Dupree, who was my partner, played by Bokeem Woodbine
Mm,
in the series. Um, he's still on the job,
yeah,
but I consider him closer than a brother. So yeah, definitely everybody was solid. But there were a few people. There was some internal conflict too with a few people that just wanted to go in different directions. Didn't like having somebody else dictating what was happening. So it's just the interpersonal dynamics that sometimes are more difficult to deal with in the case itself.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll wind this part down a little bit. We'll get back to golf and stuff because but I know when y'all found out and were able to confirm that LAPD wasn't the ones who killed Biggie and Tupac, and they dropped a lawsuit. They just kind of snatched the rug out from under y'all, didn't they?
They really did. I think the department was frustrated with all the time and money and energy that they had to devote in order to defend the allegations that they knew were untrue. And I mean, because, if you really look into that lawsuit, look at all the minutia of this case, it was constantly falling apart.
Yeah.
They were the plaintiffs, were even dismissing from the lawsuits their primary defendants, which David Mack and um, Amir Mohammed, Harry Billups. Those guys got dismissed from the lawsuit. So what does that tell you about the lawsuit?
Yeah.
But they just kept pursuing it, thinking that, well, we'll just push this to a point where the LAPD will just be happy to settle out of court and give us our millions and let this thing go. But the LAPD wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
They were going to fight it tooth and nail to the very end. And then once they won, for all intent and purposes, by disproving the claims, and the lawsuit was retracted, the LA was like, okay, we're done with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one of the sucky parts about it, is I know y'all have it where basically you've got it where Orlando Anderson and Tupac, and then Poochie Faust and Biggie, and both of them are gone now, so you can't prosecute. You can't come out and LAPD can't come out and say, okay, these are the guys that did it because they can't try them. And
yeah. It was such a small conspiracy group insofar as the Biggie murder. You really just had the shooter, you had Suge, and you had the girl that ran interference between the two. We've always been open-minded to the idea that there could have been a layoff guy or a spotter at the Peterson that reported to the shooter, but we don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So now you've got Suge in jail essentially for life. The girl has immunity, and Poochie's dead.
Yeah.
You're right. Very difficult to do anything with that case. Tupac was a little different because at the time we figured out what happened to him, there were still co-conspirators living. Terrence Brown, the driver, was living, and then he passed away. Of course, Keefy D, he's still prosecutable, but Las Vegas PD, for whatever reason, hasn't aggressively pursued him. And then there's this whole Puffy component that is impractical to try to drag him into the conspiracy just because you're basing everything off of this gang member named TPD, who's a convicted drug dealer, that would lose all his credibility if he were on the stand.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated situation with Tupac.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was telling him about the interview coming up. He said, now, who have you got? I said, he was on the task force that solved Biggie and Tupac. He said, that was never solved. I'm like, yes, it was. I said, just wasn't prosecutable because of all these different factors.
Ironically, the person who put it best was Perry Sanders, who was Valletta Wallace's attorney. He said, these cases aren't unsolved, they're unprosecuted. And that's coming from Biggie Small's own estate's attorney.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I'll tell people a lot of times, we'll have calls that go bad or calls that don't go the way that we want them to. And all you can do is do what you know to do, and do what you know is right. And when you can go home in the morning and sleep like a baby, you've done your job. And I believe that y'all sleep like a baby every night because it sounds to me like you've done it.
Yeah, I don't carry any, hindsight's 2020. I was pissed when I left the job. I thought the bureaucracy and everything that we dealt with was very frustrating.
Yeah.
And didn't treat Valletta Wallace with the respect that we should have been extending.
Yeah.
But now I look back on it and I get the practicality of the department's decision. I just don't like the way they went about it.
Yeah, yeah. And talking about Amir Muhammad, you know, that was, man, he got his life turned around, turned upside down over this thing, and he, I know y'all figured out quick, and I think the other ones didn't yet, but I figured out quick he was just nothing at all to do with this yet. So like you
He's
say,
a complete
perception is reality. And
Yeah, he's just a complete square. You look at Amir Mohammed and kind of get to know him a little bit, and you see that um, he had this unfortunate relationship with David Mack. Amir Mohammed's real relationship started out with David Mack's wife. They were friends, and of course, David Mack and Amir become friends as a result of that. So naturally, when David Mack goes to prison and he needs to lean on someone to look after his family, um, he pulls in Amir Mohammed. He's not going to go to one of his police friends because he's just basically alienated everybody because of his criminal behavior. He's not going to go to any, he's got $750,000 stashed somewhere.
yeah,
He's got to go deal with somebody that he knows he can trust will take care of his family while he's gone for 8 years.
yeah,
And I don't know that Amir had anything to do with that, but that is to me the most plausible explanation for why Amir was a little bit shady and evasive directly after the bank robbery.
yeah, yeah. And he wound up moving out of California, didn't he? Last I heard, he was somewhere over this way.
Yeah, he's out your way. I talked to him probably less than 2 months ago. I gave him a call and checked in and asked him how things were going, and um, I told him, Amir, if you don't ever take the opportunity to step out, for instance, like Reggie Wright Jr., right, who was also on the receiving end of so many false allegations. And I used to talk to Reggie and be like, fuck it, Craig, I'm not paying attention to that stuff. Let people say what they're going to say. I know what's, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but still, Reggie, you gotta step up and defend yourself. And finally he did. He started to come out and address people's allegations and address people's claims. And next thing you know, he's got a whole following of people who are like, hey, now that we can hear from you, we no longer think that you're just this deep, dark, mysterious criminal guy.
Yeah.
You're a real person now that we can understand and listen to. And I told Amir the same thing. People would love to hear your perspective on this whole thing, but evidently that's just not his thing.
Yeah, I would. I was thinking about him, and I thought, man, I would love to be able to get him on here and just talk to him, but I know he doesn't do it, and there's a piece of me that understands because keep your head down, people will forget you, but at the same time, this thing is way too big, and there's too much misinformation out there, and it's
Right.
Well, I don't care what people think about me. It bothers me some when a giant group of people think I'm an asshole. And if you ever talk to him and he expresses a desire to talk, give him this number.
Yeah, he's out. I think he's out your way.
Yeah, yeah, and I just hope his life heals and all is good for him. And I know yours has healed a lot. You retired, and hopefully a very happy retirement.
Yeah, everything's good. I just got done on my second remodel of this house that I live in. I've been here for 25 plus years, and bought it when it was new, and then it ran its course and done a remodel, and now I'm doing it again. So just keep improving the house because it seems like it's going to be the place I spend all my days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it. It's California's got its own little issues, but all things considered, it's a pretty good place to be, and and retirement's good.
Ah, very cool. Yeah, hell, I'm going to have to work till lunch the day of my funeral. That's one thing about EMS. We don't really have retirement. So, yeah,
Mm,
way it goes. Way
yeah.
it goes. I'm just going to be that old man who imparts my wisdom to all these young bucks coming up, which is kind of how it is now.
Right.
But
Like
yeah,
Robert Duvall in Crash or Colors.
yeah,
Remember
yeah.
Colors from way back when?
I
Robert Duvall and
I
Sean
can
Penn.
lip sync that movie. Yep. Well, oh yeah, I remember that one well. But
Oh,
but yeah, and it's kind of fun being that guy. I never thought that it would be fun, but it is a lot of fun. So my partner's a young guy, and I actually found a picture of me in my first EMS uniform from 1990, and I looked at it and I looked at him. I'm like, holy crap, this is a young me. And it looked it's weird the resemblance.
wow.
But he's a good kid, and he's actually in paramedic school right now. He's an EMT, and he listens and he pays attention and he learns the little things from me, and I like that a lot because I'll teach what's not in the book. Hell, anybody can teach this drug dose, but a lot of little things, from police work, a lot of little things they're not going to teach you. You've got to find out on your own.
Right.
And
Yeah, a lot of the lessons don't come out of a book.
yeah, yeah, you talking about Dupree, y'all being partners and still having that bond. One thing I'm seeing now is a lot of these young people and hell, some of the older ones. They come in, they work with somebody, 12 or 24 hours, whatever your shift is, and you go home and that's it. You don't mess with them no more till it's back on duty.
Hmm.
And I came from that old school where, everybody on your shift, especially your partner, you knew each other's families, you knew your kids, you knew your girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever you had, and just you hung out after work and you went to the bars and had a good time, and that bond was there.
Right.
And man, I miss that so much for some of these people because some of them never get to do it, and it sucks because that person, my partner, if something happens, I'm the only one he's got to depend on till we get help, and it's the same way. He's all I've got, and people are getting more and more violent now. Uh, we actually had a weekend here recently where the sheriff's department gave us all Kevlar because it was
No
supposed to be a
kidding.
bad weekend. Luckily, it wasn't. I was happy about that. But me and him made plans before the shifts even started. Okay, if this happens, here's what we need to do. And I said, you get in trouble, yell the word strawberries. I'll know what to do. Trust me. And there's things like that. And you my wife calls him my mini me, which tickled me because he's about 4 inches taller than me and about 50 pounds heavier than me. He's a big boy, which I am too, but he's a big young boy.
Hmm.
But yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
the whole workplace is, the workplace dynamics have changed so much for the current generation that, it's everything's so PC and everything's just everyone wants to make sure uh, nobody gets offended or nobody says anything that's going to get, it's become so clinical.
yeah,
And so that I think dissolves the banter and the camaraderie and the things that we knew from the workplace. Now everyone's just kind of walking around on eggshells, um, because you never know what's going to piss somebody off or hurt somebody's feelings.
yeah, exactly. And I told you about the strokes. That's if there's one good thing that could have came out of them, it's kind of a mixed bag. But my filters are gone.
Mm.
If I have to apply them, I can. If I'm on a scene with a family or whatever, obviously. But just in everyday conversation, if it comes up, it comes out, and everybody knows that. So I can kind of get away with a little bit more than a lot of people because of that, which is awesome. But, but yeah, I know talking about your uh, remodel you got going on. You were telling me there is a bar going in.
Yeah, so I've got this detached area of my house. It's about 600 square feet. It originally was a 3-car garage, but then we built another garage, and now I've converted this. It's been a game room, it's been living quarters, it's been blah. But now the current use is going to be a podcast studio, but I've got considerable room in there, so I put a full-blown bathroom with a walk-in shower and a bar, and there's some games out there. But the purpose of the room is to host, a podcast. But of course, if you know me, 5 o'clock rolls around, we're going to be opening a beer or something else, and then we'll get down to talking. So yeah, it's a podcast bar.
Nice. And that will be a welcome addition. Because I'm down here. I've got a place like that in my basement. I don't have a bar down here, which sucks, but is what it is.
At least get a little mini fridge.
Oh yeah, I'm working on that one. I am working on that one, which I can go upstairs, 30 feet and get my beer, but there's something about having it where you just reach over and grab it. It's a wonderful thing.
Right.
But and I have a solution for you before 5 o'clock. Do you like iced coffee?
I like coffee in general. I drink coffee every single morning, like religiously. If I don't have a cup of coffee in the morning, my day's going to be a little off kilter.
Yeah.
But I do like iced coffee. And I'll tell you what else I like once it is 5 o'clock is I take these iced coffees, pour a little vodka in it, make kind of like a version of a White Russian.
Yeah.
And that's pretty damn good.
Well, I tell you, I found something that if I could get them to pay me for it, it would be my official drink of the podcast. It's the unofficial drink right now. But PBR hard coffee, Pabst Blue Ribbon of all beers.
PBR hard coffee.
It is freaking amazing. It tastes like a mocha that had a little bit of alcohol in it.
I have not seen that. I've got to pull that one up.
And it's like 6% alcohol. But Perfect. It is amazing. And you can go on their website, and they've got the PBR finder, and you can it'll show you where all has it, down to the convenience stores.
Wow.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah, you guys have the regular, I don't know what they call them, not wholesale liquor stores, but the larger, like Bevmo is one out here, and Total Wine and More. I'm assuming you guys have those outlets.
We've got a couple, not a lot of them, but we've got a couple of those kind of places. We're mostly just package stores and bigger ones here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm figuring Bevmo or Total Wine and More, they're going to have that PBR coffee. I'm going to have to look for it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's worth keeping at least 4 or 5 of them in the fridge. It is amazing. I'm probably going to get off here in a little while and have one.
A little caffeine kick.
Yep. May kick back on the back porch with one of those and a good cigar, and life will be good.
It's funny. I used to my mixed drink of choice used to be not similar, but kind of along the same vein, where you're drinking caffeine and then you're also taking alcohol, which is a downer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just confusing your body at exactly what you're trying to do. I used to drink Red Bull and vodka.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a really, really popular drink. And for whatever, just the flavor of that, I love the taste of Red Bull. And I'd make cocktails with Red Bull and vodka. But man, it just seemed like those adventures didn't always go great.
Oh, but they always did at the same time. They didn't go conventionally great.
Did you see in Unsolved when Josh Duhamel he's drinking too much and he pulls over to take a nap and ends up on the bed of a tow truck and falls out of it? That was actually all really happened. Well, that was a Red Bull and vodka adventure.
Nice.
In real life. That actually happened at the end of a poker game where I'd drinking way more than I should have.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was wondering if that really happened. And I'm like, there's no way in hell they just wrote that in. That had to have happened. Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah. I've never done that, but been there. Yeah, my
Hmm.
drink when I was younger was tequila,
Hmm.
and I'm the guy that used to take the cap off of a fifth and throw the cap away, and
Oh boy.
I would eat the worm. I quit doing that the night that I was sitting on my couch and my coffee table got up, went to the fridge and got a beer and came back. Yeah, I quit the worm after that, but and this is gonna sound horrible to some of my listeners, but I don't care. It's me. I quit drinking tequila when I woke up one morning, and you remember the old birthday cards they would have like at Spencer's Gifts or whatever. They had the great big women in the bikinis on them.
Okay.
Yeah, I woke up with one of those one morning, not the card, buck naked.
Just just the model.
Yes, with the most horrible taste in my mouth I've ever had,
Oh boy.
and I've not touched tequila in 30 years now. Yeah. Now I like a
Dude,
good
that's.
bourbon, and I like vodka. But yeah.
I just started learning how to make my own old fashions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my nephew came over. He's a mixologist and taught me the finer points on how to make a proper Manhattan. I'm
Ah.
sorry, an old fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been tilting those back every once in a while.
Ah. Yeah. I've got to where if I'm drinking, which I don't drink a lot anymore, just because I'm always working or sleeping. But I like to get a little bit of bourbon in the bottom of a coffee cup and just sip that with a good cigar. And I haven't got any good cigars right now. I need to get up with my friend and get some more because he actually just opened a cigar lounge near Augusta, where I'm from. So, but yeah, I love doing that. I love vodka. Have you tried Hammer and Sickle?
I am. I'm familiar with that. I'm having a little trouble visualizing the logo.
Uh, it's a
Um,
it's a square bottle, tall square bottle with the logo's actually just a hammer and sickle.
okay.
It
I
is
don't think I've
so
had
smooth.
that.
There is absolutely no backbite. It's almost like drinking water.
Hmm.
It will get you in trouble fast, but it's so good.
Hammer and sickle.
Yeah,
Is that a Russian vodka?
yeah,
Obviously.
yep.
Okay, gotcha. Huh.
But yeah,
Because
it is.
I usually do drink Russian vodka, even though lately I've been drinking Tito's from Texas, but Stoli has always been my go-to vodka,
Mm-hmm.
Stolignaya.
Yep.
And 'cause I always thought, Russians, uh, they kind of, at least for me, they wrote the book on vodka.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They can make some mean tater liquor, as we like to say. But oh yeah. And it's funny. I told you this thing steers itself everywhere, and it does. Man, we go all over the map on this show, but it's fun. Um, I know whenever I first reached out to you, you saw the name of the podcast, and you're like, dude, I burn everything. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just the name of it. But yeah, I cook a lot, and it breaks my heart when somebody can't cook. Man, I feel like I got to teach them the easy parts. But yeah, do you cook at all?
Uh, I I can in a pinch. I make really basic stuff. My son turned into he loves to cook,
Yeah.
so he'll come over and make a big mess in the kitchen, but he'll whip up some really good food. My wife, my wife's a good cook. Her problem is that she doesn't know how to cook proportional. Like
Yeah.
she only knows how to make a lot of food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then me, I just do a few basics. I stick, if I'm hungry, I'm not going to put a lot of energy into doing something new and exciting. I'm just going to be like, all right, get me some canned chicken and get me some noodles, and I'm gonna put some Parmesan cheese on that and some Tabasco, and then that's going to be, my chicken, my chicken pasta.
That'll work. That'll work. So Tabasco, do you like hot?
I do. Not really hot though. I mean, I just like a little bit of kick,
Mm-hmm.
but I stay at about the medium level on the heat scale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't go too far beyond that.
Oh man, the hotter the better with me. I was actually supposed to go this last weekend and do challenge with a couple of my friends. One, the guy who owns the cigar place, and I've got another one that opened up a barbecue and seafood place right near him. And we were going to get some shrimp for the seafood place, and I've got some sauce from a company called Pucker Butt, who their owner is the one who developed the Carolina Reaper and the Pepper X, which is now the hottest pepper.
Oh,
And yeah, this sauce is supposed to be ridiculous hot. And we were going to go sit in a cigar lounge eating these shrimp dipped in sauce while doing trivia. So, but I wound up not being able to go this weekend, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But I do videos, just little character things I do, just something to do, shits and giggles. And when all this started, I put out an Amazon list to everybody and said, all right, if you order something off of this list, when it comes in, you get to pick what character I do and what I'm doing while I eat this or do this challenge. And I've got a clown whose name is Murray. And this is Murray's voice. Murray is a very abrasive bastard. And in his first video, he drank a fifth of bourbon in 10 minutes, which in the video it was tea because if I drank like Murray, it would kill me. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine sent me this thing called the White Chocolate Challenge, which is a piece of white chocolate, obviously, but it's got 12 of the hottest peppers in the world in it. And he wanted me to eat this pepper and do it eat this chocolate as Murray and read the dirty parts of 50 Shades of Grey. So, yeah, I filmed that. And I don't know if you've ever read 50 Shades of Grey or not. I had not prior to this. Holy shit.
I have not read that, but I will take your word for it that it gets pretty graphic and detailed.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm like, man, I got to quit agreeing to things first.
A drunk clown who's sweating because of peppers reading a dirty book.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep. But yeah, the YouTube channel is easy to remember. It's Brad's Comedy. It's all one word. But oh yeah, it is interesting to say the least. And I'm sitting here staring at another bottle of hot sauce one of my guests sent me. She does, she's an author, and she wants me to do one of the characters from her books, reading something while using this sauce. So that's going to be interesting. But
what type of what genre does she write in?
She writes like the fantasy novels, like, the time travel, that stuff. And there are also romance novels. So, but they're not like the 50 Shades of Grey romance.
Right. Hers a proper romance.
Yeah, these will be a lot more tamed than the other one. But I've been reading it to get a feel for the character, and it's actually pretty good books. Her name's Vicky Stifle. But
the character or the author?
The author.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny. My wife has been reading these things for years, and I started to get her to read it, and I'm like, no, this lady just sent you an advanced copy of this book, and she has bought sauce for money and sent it to you. You need to read this so you can do this right. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I like the book.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. But
that's awesome.
But oh yeah, but yeah, if you ever get down here near Atlanta, you don't have to worry about eating anywhere. You will be fed. That's for sure.
I may end up looking you up. Here's why. Because I'm working on a documentary. Working on this documentary about this kid that went missing from Atlanta back in 2013. His name was Ryan Singleton. And he ended up out in L.A. and then disappeared. And they found his body at the end of the summer out in Baker, which is this little, basically a pit stop between Las Vegas and everybody in Southern California. Mm-hmm. And body was just found out in the desert. And, the condition of his body and everything led to a bunch of conspiracy theories. And so we're going to be out there doing some of the follow-up on that documentary next month. So I'll look you up.
Outstanding. Yeah, give me some heads up, man, and I'll fix anything you want.
Perfect.
But oh yeah, your cholesterol, and I say your cholesterol will jump up. I actually cook fairly healthy for everything that I do cook. So
just put the hot sauce on the side for me, though.
yeah, definitely, definitely. That's one thing I never spring on anybody because that's just some cold-blooded shit to do. Somebody expect to eat something good and all of a sudden their eyeballs fall out because something's so hot. Yeah, that's just wrong.
And then you can't get it out of your mouth. Once that damage is done, you're going to have to live with it for
Yeah,
the duration of till it dissipates.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll put the hot sauce on the side, and I do have normal Tabasco because that is my go-to. So,
Perfect.
oh yeah, oh yeah, and you're welcome on here anytime. I don't care what it's for. You just want to bullshit, just call up and say, "Fat boy, let's talk," and I'll hit record.
I think I'll just call you by your name.
Oh, that'll work.
Awesome.
But very cool. But man, like I say, I've had a great time with you today. This has been awesome. I'm happy we
Fun.
went beyond just the murders because that's just a little piece of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. Just because there's a point where you've talked about something so much that you start to kind of just grow a little immune to it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm always there to deal with people that are asking questions, but it's also a breath of fresh air to talk about something else.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, very cool. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that today. I had a great time talking to Greg. He is such a great guy. He's got a lot of irons in the fire, and we're going to hear a lot more from him. So everybody just kind of keep your ears peeled and keep checking on him. Y'all take care. Thank you so much for listening.